A search query on ChatGPT uses 10 times as much power as a search query in Google. So the demand for power is going to grow immensely over the next decades. And BC is well positioned to actually capitalize on that because we're situated in a bit of a Goldilocks zone.
So what's your name and what do you do?
Keivan Hirji. I'm Director of External Relations and Communications with Newmont for Canada.
And what's Newmont?
We're the world's leading gold mining company. So we operate in 10 countries around the world. We've been in operation for over 100 years. Over those 100 years, we've made some mistakes, but we're proud of the fact that we've actually learned from those mistakes. And today, we've actually ranked first for transparency in the S&P 500, and it's the co-leader of the Dow Jones Sustainability Index on a routine basis for mining and metals. We've taken a pretty strong position in British Columbia with the recent acquisition of Newcrest Mining. That brought the Brucejack mine and the Red Chris mine into the portfolio. And we've also taken a 50% stake in the Galore Creek project, which is a joint venture with Teck Resources, and that's North America's largest undeveloped copper deposit.
So you've mentioned gold and copper. Are there other products that Newmont is developing here in BC?
We've been historically the predominantly gold company. We've produced a little bit of silver, zinc, and lead, actually a pretty significant amount of silver, but we're really increasing our exposure to copper. Copper's going to go for a long, good run. By 2035, there's going to be about a 9.9 million metric ton deficit of copper. That's about a 30% increase, because no matter how we produce energy or how we use energy, we need to transmit it. And copper is the most effective way to do that. Just so happens in northwest British Columbia, an area often referred to as the Golden Triangle, we refer to it as the Copper Corridor. It's home to about 75% of Canada's known copper resources. And these are copper gold porphyry deposits. So the gold actually makes it economical to mine some of these low-grade copper deposits.
Mining is energy intensive. There's a lot of potential for environmental disturbance. How are you innovating to resolve some of those challenges?
When it comes to legacy management, I mean, that is fundamental to our business, right? If we are not managing closure correctly, we don't have license to actually open up new mines. So that is instrumental and paramount for handled correctly. When it comes to new technologies, I mean, that is redefining mining as a whole. It's redefining how we look at closure. It's also redefining how we look at exploration, because you can actually go into areas where perhaps you overlooked opportunity and find new opportunity. It's also redefining how we operate our mines. So I think about the Red Chris block cave mine, which is currently an open pit mine, and we're proposing a block cave project there, which is basically an underground component to that mine, which would allow us to extend the life of mine by several decades. The types of jobs from the open pit mine and the underground mine will actually change quite a bit, but the number of jobs will remain the same. So they'll be continue with about 1,500 jobs. But they will move from equipment operator roles to more technical maintenance roles. So a new skill set that's required for the modern day mine, that often automation allows us to operate a safer mine. It also allows people to perhaps, remotely control equipment. And if we just continue to invest in the technology and, the network capabilities at these mines, capacity of these mines, we can really redefine what mining looks moving forward.
What kind of advice do you have for students or job seekers now who want to be involved in the mining of the future?
We're not just operating mines. We're operating businesses, and we're partners of communities. So understand socioeconomics locally and globally. Understand the macroeconomic trends that are informing why we choose to invest in the projects and operations we do. The world is changing. It's very geopolitically unstable. There's a lot of macroeconomic changes taking place right now. And for us as a company that's been in operation for over 100 years, we're thinking about the next 100 years. And to do that, you need some foresight and you need to have generational thinking. And when we look at British Columbia, we're really thinking out to the end of the century to have strong partnerships with the nations that host our projects and operations, like the Tahltan Nation, Nisga'a, Skikim Laha, and Gitnao. And so for us, we're thinking with those communities about how do we actually create a shared vision.
How would you describe how Canadian or BC mining is different from the rest of the world?
For Newmont, we've operated around the world. We like the stability of jurisdictions like Canada and Australia. Now, you run into more rigorous regulatory regimes, but with that, you get stability and certainty. That really attracts us. And then, of course, the geology is here in British Columbia, which is very attractive. There's also good infrastructure. So in northwest British Columbia, for example, there's the Northwest Transmission Line. BC is about 90% clean hydropower right now. And so we can produce these natural resources with clean electricity, right? And these resources that we're producing, critical minerals in particular, are paramount for low carbon transition. And they're also paramount for new technologies like artificial intelligence. It's like a search query on ChatGPT uses 10 times as much power as a search query in Google. So the demand for power is going to grow immensely over the next decades. And BC is well positioned to actually capitalize on that because we're situated in a bit of a Goldilocks zone where you have a coastline, which offers export capabilities and capacity to Asian markets. We've got hydroelectric power, and we've got the geology, and we've got a government. Parties on all sides of the political aisle see the value proposition of critical minerals and are very invested in bringing those resources to fruition and really establishing critical minerals, and in particular copper, as a cornerstone of the BC economy.
What are the types of things you need from your regulators, legislators, in order to get to those results?
So there's infrastructure. More infrastructure helps us unlock more natural resources. When it comes to mining, it's about 2 to 2.5 times more expensive to construct and operate a rural and remote mine. And that's largely due to the infrastructure deficit. Permitting is often something that is lamented about by industry. Some of the challenges when it comes to permitting is actually under-resourcing nations. As industry and as provincial and federal government, we need to work with nations to help provide sufficient resources and also help those nations build their own resources to meaningfully engage in projects. Because we've got a bit of a clash of aspirations happening right now, where on one hand, we have tenacious ambitions around critical minerals. On the other hand, we have reconciliation. And they're kind of clashing, and the burden of reconciliation is falling on nations as we ask more and more of them when it comes to resource projects. So making sure that they are well positioned and well resourced to be able to meaningfully engage in those resource assessments can really help overcome the regulatory burden.
Are there specific innovations that you're really excited about now finally coming to market, starting to get commercialized, that are going to benefit the work that you do at Newmont?
We've thought pretty carefully about how to build an end-to-end automated, fully electrified mine system. The Bruce Jack mine in BC is actually one of the lowest carbon emitting mines in the world. The Red Chris mine, once we transition to a block cave, will be much less energy intensive because we're actually switching from haul trucks to more conveyor solutions. So the new technologies that are coming out are allowing us to really reduce the carbon intensity. Perhaps this isn't related to innovation, but I think the way we're thinking about partnerships is a breakthrough. We really work with the communities that host our projects and operations to think about shared visions and shared priorities, especially when it comes to infrastructure. We had a lot of success here in British Columbia with Highway 37, 37A, and 51, where there had been over 500 accidents on that highway since 2018. And Tahltan Nation came to us and said, how can you ask us to consent to more mining when the current level of infrastructure doesn't even support the current level of industrial activity? And we said, that's a very fair point. So let's go talk to the province and the federal government about that. Coming out of that was $195 million to upgrade that highway. So it's a big win for communities. It's a big win for industry. It helps unlock more critical mineral potential in the region and also just ensure that people get home safe to their families and loved ones. I think that's the type of stuff that we need to be doing, is finding alignment, finding shared priorities, and focusing on that to really achieve success.